The next big power struggle may not begin with oil. It may begin with tiny metals hidden inside the machines that already run the world. Inside fighter jets, missiles, EVs, wind turbines, drones, and the phone in your pocket. The materials are small, the leverage is not. Rare earths matter because they sit inside permanent magnets and other high-performance components that make advanced systems smaller, lighter, and more efficient. That means this is not just a mining story, it is a system story. A mineral story becomes a technology story the moment those metals reach motors, sensors, guidance systems, and industrial hardware. And once that happens, supply chain control starts looking a lot like geopolitical power. This is the first mistake people make. They assume the race is about who has deposits in the ground. It is not. The real choke point comes after extraction, separation, refining, processing, alloying, magnet making. That is the hard part. A country can discover new reserves and still remain exposed if someone else dominates the stages that turn ore into usable industrial inputs. A mine is not the same thing as an ecosystem, and without the ecosystem, the mine is only potential. That is why official U.S. policy has shifted so sharply. Washington has spent the last year pushing harder on domestic mineral production and strategic supply chains because critical materials are no longer treated like a niche business issue. They are treated like national capability. If a rival can squeeze the inputs behind your energy transition, your weapon systems, and your high-end manufacturing, then your economy is more vulnerable than it appears on paper. The U.S. Geological Survey continues to show that America remains heavily import-reliant for rare earths, with China still the leading source behind a large share of that flow. That matters because rare earths are not simply traded commodities. They are industrial force multipliers. Whoever controls them shapes what other countries can build, how fast they can build it, and how expensive that build-out becomes. And in a century defined by technology, timelines are power. That is why mining headlines can be misleading. A new deposit sounds dramatic. A new refinery is usually more important. A new magnet plant may matter more than both. Because resilience only exists when the full chain exists: extraction, processing, manufacturing, recycling. Miss one link and the whole structure still bends toward the same bottleneck. That is why countries can celebrate new discoveries while remaining strategically dependent. They found the rock, but not the industrial freedom. This is where the story turns geopolitical. If trade tensions harden, export rules tighten, or a technology conflict expands, critical minerals become leverage. Not abstract leverage, real leverage. The kind that can delay missiles, raise EV costs, squeeze factory margins, and slow defense production without firing a shot. A shortage of oil shocks transport. A shortage of rare earths can quietly shock the industries governments are counting on to dominate the future. And the danger is that this kind of disruption rarely arrives as a single dramatic blackout. It begins as delays, cost overruns, procurement problems, and industrial friction. Projects slip. Factories reorder plans. Defense contractors revise timelines. What looks boring at first can become historic later. That is how strategic weakness often works. By the time the public sees the map clearly, the bottleneck has already done its damage. There is also an irony here. The same materials needed for the clean energy future also sit inside the hard edge of military power. The same magnet logic that matters for an EV motor also matters for precision systems, aerospace, and advanced defense hardware. So the next minerals race is not just about climate policy or industrial growth. It is about whether major states can build the physical backbone of the century without asking a rival for permission. That is why rare earths stop looking niche the moment you follow them all the way through the machine. This is really a story about power hidden inside hardware, about the difference between owning a technology and controlling the materials that make that technology possible. The next Cold War, if it deepens, may not be decided only by ships, sanctions, and speeches. It may also be decided by refineries, magnet plants, and the tiny metals almost nobody notices until they become hard to get. Because in the modern world, the smallest choke points can create the biggest shifts, and rare earths may be one of the smallest choke points of all. Whoever controls them controls more than supply. They control options, they control speed, And in a world racing to rearm, electrify, and automate. Automate, bas, days, was. That may be another way of saying they control power itself.